Hello there.
Hello.
How's it going?
How are you?
Good, good. Looks like you got your video and your audio connected.
Yes.
So welcome to the EricSwanRacing.com podcast. This is number 59, I believe, with Jamie Howe. And glad to have you on today. You're a TV personality. Everybody knows your face and your voice from the races. So I'm glad to talk to you for the first time, really.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
And it's nice to meet you too. So how's your day going?
So far so good. It's been pretty busy. I've had a few conference calls, getting ready for this weekend. I have a doubleheader weekend this weekend, but it's been pretty good.
And you have a background in broadcasting, and that's something
Yes.
that's interested me for a long time, not just watching the broadcast, but getting paid to talk. What's that like?
It's funny because I'm not like a naturally chatty person. Like I'm not the person that at a party or at an event or whatever is always talking. So I always say it's funny that I actually get paid to do it because I'm not just chatty by nature.
Yeah, something you have to work at?
A little bit. I think though, if I were in the booth, that would be a challenge for me because I don't have that gift of gab. But I can tell stories like in a succinct manner. So I have to work at it. But it works my role.
And it sounds like you've been into motorsports for quite a long time, doing some dragsters and NASCAR work as well.
Yes, so I still this year I'll do all the superbike races. Well, most of them. I'll miss this coming weekend at the Ridge, but I also am doing NASCAR trucks, NHRA drag racing, a couple of ARCA races. So a good mix of things.
You get a variety of different disciplines in there. Is one that you like more than the others, or are they all just different in their own ways?
They're all very different ways. I love road racing because I love the strategy and everything that is involved with it. But they're all very different, and there are things that I love about each of the different formats.
And have you ever had your own experience behind the wheel or behind the bars?
I have nothing like in a race, but I've done a couple of events with show where we did some track days. I have driven down a drag strip. I did a full day, and that was exciting and fun and fast. But I've actually never ridden a motorcycle like that I was in control of. So
You rode on the back, it sounds like.
I've been on the back maybe 2 times in my entire life. So nothing that I would even say that I had ridden on a motorcycle.
You know, you should try the Chris Ulrich two-up rides that he does at the end of the race practices.
Yeah, I've talked to some people about doing that this year. They asked me about it last year when I first started with Moto America. I was too scared, but then this year I've seen it a little more, and so I'm more comfortable with the idea. So I think by the end of the season I'll do one.
Yeah, and the racetrack's the best place to do it. If something happens, you know, there's an ambulance already running if you need it. So
That's true. I don't want to think about that, but that's true.
well, of course, you know, there's a lot of people who aren't into racing and don't know anything about the sport. So, you know, I was just over my friend's house the other day and talking to this girl, and she asked me, "Oh, well, do you wear full gear?" Well, yeah, you have to. It's not an option. Like on the street, people don't wear gear all the time, and that's normal. But on the
Right.
racetrack, people don't even know that it's mandatory you have to wear gear.
And it's incredible to think. I mean, when I first started covering motorcycles last year, I had no idea how advanced the suits were. And that was one of the things that caught me by surprise, just how advanced the safety is in today's road racing, you know, with the airbags and all of it. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's getting better. They have air fences now, and I was working corner working at Road America. I was at turn 9 on Friday. I think it was turn 12 on Saturday and turn 14 on
Okay.
Sunday. And actually, Travis Wyman low-sided into Canada Corner, turn 12, and his bike punctured the air fence. So we had to extract the air fence and then deploy a new one after the session was over. And air fence is a great word, but it doesn't really describe how heavy the thing is. It's extremely heavy. It's made of air. It's rubber, not really plastic, but yeah, just rubberized like a big bounce house in the corner. But I
And
think there are actually two air fences, one air fence and then another row of air fences, and then a tire wall, and then a catch fence. And that's after the track there, it used to be all gravel, but I guess they repaved more pavement there, so it's even more runoff, but the bikes don't slow down as much. So you have a compromise there.
yeah, and that was something that I didn't know anything about either. I mean, I'd cover road racing for sports cars, don't have a need for the air fence. And it took me a couple of races in 2020 before I realized that was something that they brought in themselves to each of the different racetracks and put up rider safety. I just didn't know. I was so new to it.
Big project. Some tracks will have some of their own air fences, but most don't. Like at Grattan Raceway, that's my home track in Michigan. They don't have, I don't think, any air fences, and there's several guardrails, and I've hit one of them. And
Oh, wow.
if there would have been an air fence there, it would have saved me a couple weeks in the hospital. So those things are incredibly valuable to have, even though they are expensive. They are, $10,000-$15,000 for a 10-foot section of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great.
So, yeah, I mean, it'll definitely reduce those hospital bills.
You'd like to think.
Well, just last weekend, there was a rider who lost brakes and went into the air fence, and he was fine. I don't think he had a bruise or cut on him. So it's
amazing.
It's worth it.
Absolutely.
So what's on your mind today? Is there anything you wanted to talk about?
Oh, I mean, nothing in particular. I know that all of your background is in the motorcycle racing world, and one of the things that has really surprised me about this world, this area of motorsports, is just how friendly everybody is. When I went to my first moto race last year, right after it was the first race that they went back to, everybody was so welcoming and wanted to teach me about the sport and they want me to understand it and help tell their stories, and it's been just great.
Yeah, I think it's a very tight-knit community of people. It's different from stick and ball sports because you're always competing against someone. You're always trying to show someone up. I mean, you kind of are in racing too, but it's different because there's so much a higher level of respect because there's a higher level of danger, I think. So when you have a higher level of danger, it's like, come on, we're all friends. We don't want to hurt each other. We want to do it as safe as possible. And I've lent parts to people who I was directly competing against in championships because I didn't want to just beat them based on a DNF or a did not start. I wanted to beat them the real way, like on the track. And if they were so happened to be faster than me that day, well then, maybe I lost it fair and square. It sounds stupid, right? If you're really trying to compete to do that, but you want your friends out there with you.
No, I think you're right. I think the word respect that you used was the right one because that is the sense that you get. These people are taking time away from their families and their lives at home, and they're traveling around the country, and they're all together for all of these race weekends every year, and have been for several years in most cases. And there is that amount of respect. They understand what the other team's going through. And I mean, even just this past weekend at Road America, or 2 weekends ago, the Scheibe racing team had to borrow a part from Westby, and we're talking like the top level
professionals,
of professionals, right? But that kind of stuff still happens. So there's so much camaraderie, but respect, I think, is the best word.
Yeah, and you can't bring everything with you in a trailer. I mean, some people come with 3 semis, and that's not fair. But most people don't have 3 semi trucks and can overnight anything in a heartbeat. So somebody might have some argon over here. Somebody might have a welder over here. You need both of them. Can I borrow them, please? And I'll pay you for it. That's very common. Or most of the time, it's like, yeah, it's free. Just bring it back and don't break it.
Right.
So it's a cool sport. I think everybody just has so much passion for it that when I go to the track and I don't know someone, I don't always travel with a group myself. Sometimes I'm just going alone, and so I'll just stop at the next pit, awning that I see, and like, oh, there's a group of guys. Let me just stop and talk to them. And I just made a new dozen friends, at Black Hawk Farms when I was my first corner worker weekend, and I was just trying to meet people. I raced with Wera most of the time, amateur racing and expert racing. But this was a CCS event. So I knew a couple people there because they kind of bleed over a little bit, but most of the people were brand new. So I had to introduce myself and say hi. And once you do that, get over the jitters. It's like kindergarten, meeting new friends, right? People just don't do it very often. So it's rare when people do now. Can you hear me now?
I hear you. Yep, it froze.
Oh, good. That's why I always have room for editing.
Perfect.
So I was just saying, like, it's cool to just meet new people, and it's like kindergarten, meeting new friends. Sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking, but if you just open the door, start talking, most of the time it's just okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things about like the motorcycle culture, right? Because most people go with like one or two guys or friends to these events, but then by the end of the day, there's this huge pack of people leaving together, and they go down the road to get some dinner or a drink or whatever and talk about their day at the races. But I think it's just part of the culture of it. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, you always hear about those scary biker gangs, but that's kind of the opposite in at least road racing. I don't know too much about Harleys and all that stuff, that world, but now a little bit with the baggers and Indians. That's new.
Well, with the baggers, the first time they were out was last year at Laguna Seca, and that you're right, like that is a common thought about the guys that ride these big bikes, is that they're scary. But I have not seen that yet, and maybe it is because they're still racers at heart. I don't know, but everybody has been nothing but nice.
That's good. And you always want to come back to the next event, and you don't want to make any enemies, especially if you're a racer.
Right.
If you're pissing people off, people are just going to stuff you, make you have a bad, ugly race most of the time. So you don't want to make nasty friends on the track. You see most people that if they do take somebody out, you almost always see them go over and apologize. But sometimes there's differences of opinions. You see all the hand gestures and gesticulating going on. That's normal too.
And sometimes you get that after the race over in Park May or even in Victory Lane. You see.
Oh yeah, I catch myself doing that sometimes. Like I'm doing a local go-kart championship, and it's nothing special, nothing fast, super fast karts, but they're maybe 40, 50 miles an hour. And I was going to overtake someone. I got the pass done, and then I was going for another pass, and this guy's trying to pass me, and he spins me out. And so I'm kind of gesticulating at him a little bit, but not giving him the finger, just like, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you doing that? That's not cool. He took me out, so there's, so you want to get your point across, but you don't want to, I guess, use too many fingers.
Well, and they can't hear you over the sound of engines, right? So
Yeah.
you have to be expressive with your body language.
Almost want to learn like sign language. I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah. Only if the other person knows it also.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you solely motorsport reporter or all other sports as well?
No, solely motorsports. I mean, when I started, I thought that I wanted to do a whole bunch of sports, and I would still be open to it. But I have really found a home in motorsports. And I'm fortunate enough to work for a network. I work for Fox, and they have so many different options as far as racing goes. It's not like they're just a one take on it. So I've been able to cover a lot of different things over the years, and it keeps me busy. So I wouldn't be able to add anything during race season anyway. Something would have to give. So I'm happy with just motorsports at the moment.
Sounds like you got a pretty full plate already.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, like this week, so I'll do NASCAR trucks at Pocono on Saturday, and that's a noon race on FS1. But then I'll go, as soon as that race is over, I'll drive actually to Norwalk, Ohio, for NHRA that is on Sunday on the Fox Broadcast Network. So it's a doubleheader, like two different paddocks, two different, groups of people and two different formats, and very different, but it's busy. It's good.
And today is June 22nd, 2021. This will probably come out a couple of weeks from now. I have a few in the queue I still have to edit and then get this posted. However, how has COVID affected you, and people are already back at the races?
Last year was not as busy as what this year is, obviously. There weren't fans at the track, and because there weren't fans at the track, there weren't as many reporters at the racetrack, and travel was restricted. I was fortunate that I still did a fair number of events, but it was weird because there were no fans there, and you lose that energy, and it just wasn't the same. But now that COVID is, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Travel is insane, but I have to do a COVID test every week still to be allowed to travel. So that's something that's very different. Obviously, the travel part of it is the most different, just because of the restrictions and the everything that goes with it. I always tell people, like my friends that don't travel for work, they're like, "Oh, you're so lucky you get to travel for work." I'm like, yeah, but the travel is actually the worst part of it. When I get to work, it's just work. It's like anybody else's job.
Right.
And so it's just a little bit different now with post-COVID and during COVID. And I'll be excited when COVID is no longer a word that explains what we do.
Yeah, and it's changing state to state. I was in Illinois like 3 weeks ago for Black Hawk Farms, corner working, and they have different rules there. And they have different rules in Wisconsin. I rode America. It's just everywhere you go is different. And I saw something I wanted to mention, and went to Chipotle, and they had a warning label on their burritos and their tacos and their bowls. Everything had a warning label on it for salt content. I've never seen that before. It must be like a statewide thing, but it was on their main menu in like a big triangle with a salt shaker in the middle.
In Wisconsin?
I think it was Illinois or Wisconsin. I'm not sure. One of the two. But yeah, when I was traveling, going down to one of the racetracks, I never saw that before. It was very different.
I've never seen that either. It's funny. Like the one thing that I don't like about different locations is when they put the calories on the menu.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not used to seeing that, and I don't want to see that.
I wish they would label everything with its caffeine content, because I wouldn't say I'm sensitive to caffeine, but I'm sensitive to it after 2 p.m. or something. If I drink it late in the day, then it's a problem. So I'm always looking at what's the content of this and what's the content of that. But most of it's not labeled, so you have to dig into it to find that stuff. It'd be nice.
Meanwhile, it's 3:30 p.m. and I'm drinking 3 shots of espresso. So.
I did have an extra. Well, I had coffee today. I don't normally have coffee, and I had my normal morning energy drink, so I'm doubling up.
Oh, okay. I live off caffeine.
Yeah, it's important. So yeah, I got a new job recently. Like I mentioned, I'm corner working. This is the first year I've ever done that. So it depends what organization you corner work with and what track you go to. But so far, I've been paid at every event.
That's good.
So you get like a free paid vacation. You get to hang out at the racetrack. They always say that it's the best seat in the house, but you're actually not sitting. You have to stand while bikes are on track, which is really the hardest part about it, which is not terrible. So
do you camp at the racetrack?
Yeah, so I'm actually looking at my new tent in front of me. It's still in the box. Coleman is the brand, but the last tent I had is just kind of falling apart. It's ripped at the top. It just needs to be replaced. So I found one online. It was 60-second pop-up.
Oh, wow.
So super quick. It's pretty big though. It's not for like taking it on a motorcycle, but it'll fit in the back of my truck, no problem. So I just camp at the track. That's what I have always done when I raced, because it's just cheaper. You're going to get a hotel. You're going to spend at least $100 a night. And I'd rather save my money and spend it on tires. So, and you get to wake up with the sounds of the racetrack. You get to wake up. You don't have to go anywhere. You're already there. Sometimes hotels can be 20, 30 minutes away, depending on where you're at. So.
And most of the tracks have showers and everything now too. So.
And
And concession stands are open again. That was a big thing at Road America.
Oh, they had great food. I had their food every
Yes.
day. It's good stuff.
Yes.
And for 150 bucks, I mean, I have a house for the next decade.
There you go.
So it works out. And I do plan on actually flying out to some events to corner work. It makes sense. You can kind of break even with even a flight to, say, New Jersey or even Florida, Daytona, Miami, Homestead Miami Speedway's on the list, maybe Road Atlanta. So it's a little too far to drive to make it back to work on Monday at 5 or 6 in the morning. So I'd have to fly to do that. And in that case, I'm going to need another tent. I'm going to need like one of those compact sleeping bags because I'm going to take everything with me on my back. You know, it's going to be a different experience. But if I can fly out to these different places for a weekend and not spend any money and break even, maybe even make a few dollars, it's like a free paid vacation.
No, that's great. And you get to see the sport that you love and all of your friends that are at the racetrack. And that's great.
Yeah, so it's a new little hobby. It's like my 7th job I think I'm taking on right now. It's a little too much, but I always say just do more. Like, you know, people pass away really early. My friend did not too long ago, Sarah Girthy. She was 31 and she had a brain aneurysm. And it's like, man, that really sucks. It just makes me want to do more stuff because you just never know when it's your time.
I think that's a funny thing that's come out of the pandemic is that people sat at home for a year and didn't have a whole lot to do. And it's really made people reevaluate how it is they spend their time and what it is that they're doing with themselves. It's been cool to hear some of the stories where people have taken on something new or they've started a new passion project or whatever, because they just realize, like, I don't know when I won't get to do it anymore. So I think it's cool. That's great. Good job.
Yeah, well, thank you. You know, I'm also talking a little bit about myself. I'm running a business, ericswanracing.com, selling parts online to help fund my racing program. So I raced from 2011 to 2015 modified sport bikes and kind of ran out of money. So I'm trying to help fund it myself instead of just relying on sponsorship. I think sponsorship.
And where do you want to race?
I want to race in Moto America. I have I earned my pro race license, but just need the money to do it. So I switched over to mountain bikes and foot racing and just trying to do karting now. I've raced the Audi one time, trying to stay in the racing game. Got a simulator in my living room, so I practice on that every little time. And
well, if you do make it to Road Atlanta, there's a big mountain bike trail connected to the racetrack.
Oh yeah, I haven't been on that one yet.
Yeah, it's because Fox Factory is just up the road from Road Atlanta, and so they put in a big mountain bike trail. The local schools use it actually.
Awesome. I have to check it out. You know, I might be there for the Petit Le Mans and Road Atlanta in maybe October, is it? So later in the year.
I think it's actually in November this year.
November, one of the later months, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking to do that one. I've never done a IMSA Petit Le Mans, like an IMSA corner working before. So the flags are different for every organization. They'll have different rules and different flags that they use and how they wave them. So it'll be fun to learn about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say though, the flags for Moto America and IMSA are very similar. I'm trying to think of one that would be different.
I know they have different white flag rules and last lap flags, or sometimes halfway.
Different rules, yeah.
Like I know Wera has a halfway flag. I'm not sure that Moto America has a halfway flag.
I don't think so. If they do, I haven't noticed it.
Usually it's just 2 sticks and they put it like a crisscross.
Okay.
So
I don't think so.
Normally you really don't know what lap you're on. I mean, some people might be able to keep track of that in your head, but sometimes you're on anywhere from a 1.5 to 4 mile track, and you got a lot of stuff going on. You're not really just thinking about what lap I'm on.
So they do have a big digital board that goes out at the middle of pit lane that is a lap counter.
Oh yeah.
And so they do run those for all of the races.
That's helpful because I never saw that in amateur. They didn't have that in amateur races, so you're just guessing.
Yeah, no, that helps me on pit lane too because I can't keep track of it. So I can just look down at the wall and see what lap they're on.
And then actually recently in the local kart race, it's not the best karting place, although they have timing and scoring, which is nice, why I keep going back there. And so you can see your lap times and all that, but their flagging isn't always up to par. So I saw that there's a white flag and I was the leader of the race. And then I go by again and it's still a white flag. I'm like, I'm just going to keep going around until they stop me because I know that was supposed to be the end of the race, but I'm not stopping until I see that checkered flag.
Right.
So I got another extra couple laps in.
Did everybody get another lap too? They didn't.
Only like the first 3 people got another couple laps in, but yeah.
Okay.
You missed it.
Yeah.
But oh well.
Oh well.
So you're a car person or a bike person at heart? Do you have any in the garage?
I have a Porsche Cayenne that is, I think, the greatest car ever made. It's a diesel, so I don't want to get rid of it because you can't get a diesel unless you get a truck anymore.
Yeah.
But I love it, and I always tell people that it's gonna be like I'll have it for the rest of my life. Like I'll be buried in that car because it's like I just love it so much. But I'm not really like a car person. I mean, I love cars. I love racing. But I don't go to a lot of car shows. You know, I don't like when I see cars out on the street, like I'm not like, oh my gosh, it's a Lamborghini, you know, not that kind of, but I just enjoy racing.
You like the racecraft?
I do. I like the racecraft. I like the teamwork that goes into it. I like the strategy, the engineering. I think it's something that people don't realize is that there's so many opportunities to be involved in racing, just based off of all of the roles that a team has to fill. You know, people are like, oh, there's no opportunities, but they're always hiring people. They just don't know to look.
Right, or they're not advertised. They're not actually putting out, we're hiring, but they always are. People are always looking for great people who are motivated and want to work. And this is a shout out to anybody who wants to come to the racetrack who's over 18 years old. You can be a corner worker. It's like a 2-3 hour session, and you take a written test. And if you're competent and you're smart, you're wearing the right clothing. Just you got to wear all white, depending on the organization. You should have steel toe shoes on or boots, gloves at all times. And they give you a headset to wear. Usually it's either over the ear or you get like an earpiece. You can communicate with race control at a press of a button. And it's awesome. I think it's so great. And it's sometimes it's volunteer, sometimes it's paid. But I've learned so much in the short time that I've done it. I can't wait to do more of it. And it's really something that's needed because if corner workers aren't there, the race doesn't happen. I mean, it's just that simple. At Blackhawk Farms, we only had 16 people it's kind of a short track, so it wasn't terrible, but there was only 2 people per corner. At some of the bigger races, there might be 10 people at each corner. And we're like skipping every other corner sometimes. So even at Road America, it's a 4-mile track and we only had 40 some people. We could have used a lot more.
Yeah, the corner workers are incredible, and because so often you are volunteers. Do you know the name Greg Kramer?
That's familiar.
He's a big name in road racing and car racing. He's a commentator. I've worked with him on the 24 Hours of Le Mans, all the IMSA stuff. He used to do Trans Am, the runoffs, everything. But when he wasn't doing television, like if he had an off weekend, he would always go and be a volunteer corner worker just because you guys are all so necessary that when he wasn't working, he wanted to go and be a part of that. So it's a great way to see the sport. Yeah,
and it's not for the faint of heart. I've already helped several people who had broken bones, and you got to know you can't pull their arm like, hey, come here. You can't do that kind of thing because their arm could be broken. You just don't know. And so it's a little bit of learning experience. There's the first time I went to go pick up a bike. I was like, oh no, my back is to the racing line. I can't pick this bike up. I have to go around and wait until it's clear before I do that. So there's a lot of stuff you don't see or don't realize what's happening. If there's two bikes, which one is in a better position to pick up? Before you run over to it, you should assess the situation. And they always say you should breathe before, you should breathe and pause before you do anything. Because a lot of times if you go immediately run to a situation, there might be a bike behind it that's going to also be careening. Maybe there's oil on the track. Maybe that's why the first bike crashed, and there might be another 3 or 4 bikes coming. So if you put yourself right in the situation, now you can't help all those other people. It just creates more problems.
That's so true. And that's good advice really for anything, right? Breathe and pause before you act. Like don't
don't
do the
react.
first thing
Just make a good decision after you've assessed it. Don't just react to things.
Right.
That's so hard to do. It's do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. So what else do you do besides running EricSwanRacing.com?
So this weekly podcast, I've been doing it now for a year. I'm quite behind now from back-to-back weekends of corner working, trying to get everything edited and posted. These ones are super easy to do because there's really almost no editing. But when I have someone in my house and I have 3 different camera angles, you got to switch the camera every single time. So it's a little time consuming, but I've been doing that. I got 2 renters right now. Actually, one just moved out, so I have a vacancy and I'm looking to fill. If anybody's looking for a place in the Sterling Heights area of Michigan, I'm looking to buy a house soon to have more rooms to rent. So I rent per room. So we would share the kitchen and the bathroom, living room, but you'd have your own private bedroom type of thing. So people call that house hacking. So that way you can get your house kind of paid for by someone else while they're getting their room. So that's kind of my idea of making money on the side. I still have a day job. I go into work every day, or Monday through Friday. I work at an aluminum company doing shipping and receiving, and we do about a 500,000 pounds ship out and 500,000 pounds received of coils every day. So it's quite a bit. So yeah, I got a few things going on, and I'm trying to stay fit for racing. I'm supposed to do a mountain bike race. The first one is on Saturday. But actually from standing 60 hours for the last 2 weekends, my heel is really hurting me on my left foot. So I don't know if I'm going to be going to it. I didn't do anything over the weekend. I just put my feet up, watched some racing, and edited some podcasts because it's like the plantar fasciitis type feeling. So I'm just trying to take it really easy. I've been limping the last few days.
That would be tough for a mountain bike race for sure, because those are intense.
It's okay when I'm biking because it's not putting so much strain on my heel, but running is a no-go right now. So it's just I'm not in shape at all. I'm gonna get my ass kicked. That's a given anyways, I think, but it's gonna be worse because of my heel now.
Oh no.
So I'm much better on the motorsports stuff. I just do the mountain bike stuff because it's super cheap and it keeps me in shape.
It's fun. It's something fun to do.
Yeah, but I was just thinking, it's like, man, if I had all the money in the world, would I ever do another mountain bike race? I'm not sure. I think most of it would be motorized because I have a much better chance if I have an engine under me. I just need to get my engine better, my human engine.
Your human engine, yeah. Those are harder to get better, I think.
Takes a lot. Takes a lot of miles.
Yeah.
I've only done 1 indoor triathlon, but my brother is a 4-time triathlete with the Ironman stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
So mine was just a timed event. They just said you went on the bike, you went in the pool, and went on the treadmill. But he's done the full ones, 140.
I've done a couple sprint ones.
Yeah. How were
not
those?
a long time, but I did. Yeah, the sprints are fun because they're not so grueling. I mean, from your brother probably that it's like a 2 mile, not even I don't even remember what the swim was. I did one that was a lake swim. Yeah. One was a lake swim, and that one was kind of scary because it was in Florida in March and it was dark and murky, and I just kept picturing alligators. Yeah. But then it's like a 10-mile bike ride and then a 5K at the end of it. So those aren't too bad.
I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, those are fun. But they do have them. What are they called with the mountain bike? They do a mountain bike at the end of it.
Xterra.
Yes, the Xterras. That would be fun.
Yeah, I think my brother's trying to get into the Xterra also. He doesn't have too much experience mountain biking, so I think that's one of the hindrances for him. But he recently did a 30-mile foot race, a trail race in the forest type of thing, and he made it to mile 27 and sprained his ankle on a route or something, and finished the race, and his ankle is now this big. For people who are just listening, it's very big now. It's the size of a grapefruit or something.
Oh no!
So I think he's gonna have to pull out of his Ironman this year to help recover his ankle. But he finished the race. I mean, he did it.
Yeah.
So
that's
sometimes
a tough way to end, though.
I don't know if would you rather have a did not finish, or would you rather have the perseverance of you finished the race?
Definitely the perseverance that you finished it. Make sure there was an asterisk next to it, like finished injured,
Yeah.
just so it was a part of the records.
You just need one
definitely.
of those you kneel on them, and they're like scooters for your knee when you break your ankle or something. You need one of those knee carts.
Yep.
Off-road knee cart.
That's right.
But yeah, my dad's pretty into fitness too. He was on this podcast, Paul Swahn. He had just completed over 365 days of working out every day, doing some sort of cardio, running a mile at least, or biking. So he's pretty fit now too. He used to be a soccer coach, so my brother and I, doing all this stuff is really pushing him to get in shape.
Did you play soccer then growing up?
Yeah, I played soccer for about a dozen years. My brother did as well. And I switched over to hockey, was really my favorite sport, but hockey's more expensive, So I played roller hockey for many years, went over to ice hockey and played varsity hockey, although I wasn't out there much, but I made the team. I think I got most improved or hardest worker award because everybody had been just like racing. Everybody had already been doing it 10, 15 years, and I just get into this. When I had tried out for high school hockey, I had only skated on ice like 10 times. So yeah, I didn't really know much about ice hockey, but I had been playing, soccer and hockey, roller hockey my whole life. So the transition took me a little period there, going against AAA guys in tryouts, getting knocked out. Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, that says a lot about you, though. You're not afraid of a challenge.
Yeah, and then after practice, I'd go home and run 6 miles because I know, like, I don't have the skill. I'm just have to be dogged determination guy and just put in the work off the ice.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I went into racing. I've been racing. I started when I was 20. That's why my number's 20. So most of these guys have been doing it since they're 5. Or at the time, had been experts for 10 years when I became an expert. So it's like, well, if I can finish second, I guess that's good enough, right? But it's still frustrating.
Did you see any of the little Ovale, the kids over at the Ovale track at Road America?
I didn't actually see them on track because I was corner working, but I could see their from turn 9 on Friday. I was watching, and for a minute, I was like, wait a minute. Those aren't the super bikes. That's not the racetrack. That must be the kart track. Because I kept seeing them come around and they wouldn't come by my corner. I was like, oh, that must be a different racetrack.
They're so cute. I mean, they're so little. They're little enough that their helmets are, bigger than the rest of their body. So it's like a bobblehead coming towards you. But to your point, I mean, I couldn't get onto the bike and do what they do on those little Ovales, but they love it. And by the time they're 20, they will be professionals.
Yeah. And some of them, in just a couple of years, I'm sure they'll be professionals. They're accelerating really fast. You know, I always bugging my parents for the longest time to give me one of these mini bikes. They're like, "Oh, you'll grow out of it. You won't want one of those." And now I'm 29, and I'm about to buy a mini bike. So, you know, they're for adults too, and they actually race them at the local kart track near my house. So, it's indoors. You can do it all year round. And it's really good training for just feeling the bike under you, feeling the slide, because it's a lot easier and safer to crash a 50cc bike than it is to crash a 600cc bike. Going a lot faster.
Yeah. You know, my son, he's 6 now, but when he was, I guess he's about 4.5, he was afraid to ride his bicycle without training wheels. And he just didn't have the balance quite right. But he didn't need the training wheels anymore. Like they weren't even on the ground. It was just like a confidence thing. And we got him one of those electric, oh gosh, what are they called? The electric dirt bikes. And it wasn't, I mean, it goes like 7 miles an hour. You can set it to different speeds. So they're not fast, but it wasn't 30 minutes. And he was off to the races on that thing, and then hopped onto his pedal bike and had perfect balance and no issues, and the confidence was there. But now he's outgrown that little electric bike, and so he wants a dirt bike, like a proper dirt bike.
Of course, yeah. What little kid wouldn't want one?
I know.
Yeah, it sounds like a great thing for little kids to get involved with. It's just for the parents, sometimes it is a little bit more expensive than just giving them a soccer ball and say, kick that around, you know. There's a barrier of entry for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you can find stuff used, or you can, you know, borrow or share or get the hand-me-downs from your neighbors. But I mean, there are ways to get into it, but it is more expensive for sure.
Oh yeah. And I'm actually looking at buying a 50cc, I think it's a CRF 50 Honda, and they're, I think, $1,600 brand new. So it's not terrible. You know, I was just telling my cousin this, and he's like, well, why are people selling used? People are selling used ones for that price. Like, why would you ever buy a used one if you can buy a brand new one that's $1,600? Some people want the nostalgia, just like your Porsche. You want a certain Porsche that year has that engine.
Yep.
So it all depends.
The audio is starting to freeze up again.
Yeah. You know, I did actually hook this up to my Ethernet, so but still
I think it's probably mine. I did get a message that said that it was unstable earlier, so
well, that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we can still struggle through it.
Yeah.
So you'll be going to the racetracks. I wanted to say, how many racetracks do you think you've been to so far?
Oh my goodness.
All of them?
No, because I don't go to a lot of like the local tracks. Because with television we do the big national events. So I've probably been to, I don't know, 50 to 70 different racetracks.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, not as many as what you would think, but that's ovals, road races, you know, road tracks, street circuits, drag strips, like all different kinds of racetracks. So, I mean, people that do like short track racing and I mean, those guys race every single weekend at all of these tracks all over their region. I can't imagine that amount of travel, and you know, those are busy schedules.
And do you mostly stay in the U.S. for that?
Yes, I do. So I used to do the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I did that for 6 years when it was on Speed and then on Fox. But now they just do a world feed that streams with Motor Trend, so I don't get to go to that one anymore. We had a couple, used to go to what used to be Motorsports, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park now, that's right outside of Toronto. Go to that one every year. But COVID has blocked that one the last 2 years. I was supposed to go up there and do the NASCAR trucks race this year, which was going to be fun, but now they're racing at Darlington instead, so it's not quite the same. I did a race in the Dominican Republic 1 year. That was actually a funny story because we never actually covered the race on television because they put the camera cable out all over the racetrack, and then people went behind them and stole it because of the copper that was in the wire. So we never actually broadcasted the race. Basically just got a vacation to go to the Dominican Republic and watch some racing for a couple days.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like you got some good travels in there.
Yeah.
And what's coming up on the schedule in the next few months?
A lot of NASCAR trucks. So it's the second half of their season now, and the way that NASCAR splits the Cup schedule between Fox and NBC. This is now the NBC portion for Cup, but Truck stays on Fox for the full season. So I'll do the second half of their season for Fox. So I've that, and then NHRA drag racing, the rest of the Moto America schedule, which I'm looking forward to. I'll miss this coming weekend at the Ridge, but the rest of those are coming up. And actually with that, so did you see the Royal Enfield announcement at Road America?
I know that they're doing like a build, train, race thing.
Yes. Yeah. So it's women from all over North America that they've built their bikes. Now they're training. They're in the training phase of it at the moment, where they're doing some track days, and Melissa Paris is their mentor, their coach, and helping them through the learning process. But then the racing portion will be the last part, and I'll actually be in the booth for those races. So I'll get to do play-by-play for their 3 rounds. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, I saw them at the AFT round. They were doing American Flat Track as well.
Yep. Yeah. It's a really neat program.
Yeah, so all kinds of different disciplines. They might be doing motocross too. I'm not sure.
I think they're looking into some other venues for sure. But it's the whole goal is to get women more interested in motorcycling and to show that you can do this. You can fix these bikes. You can build these bikes. You can ride these bikes, and you can also race these bikes. It's not something just for men. So it's a really neat program.
Yeah, and women can be very competitive too. I've been beat by girls before. It's humbling. I mean, for me, it's like, I think it's great to see women out there. I would like to see more women racing.
It's so different from other sports because it is very physical, but you have the bike or the car, you have other elements that are a part of it. And so women can compete against men on a level playing field. It's just a matter of getting them out there.
Well, just like I was saying earlier with going from mountain bikes to motorsports, I'm much more competitive because I am not the fastest runner. I am not the fastest mountain biker.
Exactly.
You put us all on the same machinery or spec class machinery, it's very similar. So yes, you could maybe muscle the bike around a little differently if you're taller or shorter or heavier or lighter or stronger, whatever it is. But I think generally you can be just about as competitive as you can on the motorcycles. You can be way more competitive from different body structures than you could in mountain biking.
Absolutely. No, you're so right.
So do you think there should be a separate female class? Or maybe like the Superbike Cup? I think they could have their own class, but also be categorized overall.
I don't think that that's what women racers want, though. I mean, to be honest, it's not. Women don't want to go out and just only compete against women or be drawn into a different championship or cup or whatever, just because of the fact that they're female. That's one of the beauties of motorsports is you don't have to do it that way. It's not like you need men's soccer and women's soccer or baseball and softball. It's just not like that in motorsports. So I think the biggest challenge is just getting women to the racetrack, and maybe a separate track day, like they're doing with the Build Train Race. I did do a women's only track day at Road Atlanta that was through a Michelin program. And it was really cool because there was no, I don't know what the right word, there was no like ego involved, in a track day and my lap times are faster. It was actually like figuring out the racetrack and being coached around the track and learning the nuances of how to get more speed or get a better lap time or whatever, without there being any ego involved. So maybe that's a way around it. But as far as racing, I don't think women want to be in a separate category.
Yeah, it makes sense. Anything to help facilitate them coming to the track, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. And a good note for all females going out there, it seems like sometimes females get sponsorship easier than men because there's so many men out there and there's so few females that if you're typically attractive, then it's sometimes easier than a expert man professional to get sponsorship. Doesn't make sense, but that's sometimes how the world works.
But sometimes how it works doesn't mean that it's any easier to get it, but there may be more opportunities for sure.
So there's opportunities out there for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll actually be at Pittsburgh this year for Moto America. I should be corner working that weekend. I never know what corner I'll be at. I can't tell you I'll be at one or whatever. They usually just assign you wherever it's needed. So
yeah. When you come say hi, I'll be there.
Yeah. Now I can actually say I know you and say hi to you.
Absolutely.
So I told my coworker I was having a podcast with you. He's like, man, you're going right to the top. Talking about the big shots on TV. He knew who you were.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice.
So yeah, it's cool to network with people and show people the characters that are already out there and just create some original content.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know you can't, you don't have too much time. I won't keep you for too long. Where can people find you on the internet?
So I'm on Instagram at Jamie TV, JAMIE TV. On Twitter at Reporter Jamie. I also have my website, jamiehowe.com, which I admittedly am not very good at keeping up to date. But I did do a fun quarantine project last year that I've been looking at revisiting, where I had kids ask questions about racing and then had people within the industry answer the questions for them. So I want to revisit that a little bit, maybe in the summer, in the end of the summer, maybe towards the fall. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Other than that, I'm on Fox Family of Networks this time of year, almost every weekend. So it's a busy schedule, but that's it.
And do you get a lot of feedback from your group as to what you're supposed to say beforehand, or is it just you can pretty much say whatever you want, just don't swear? Like, how does that work?
You can pretty much say whatever you want. There's certainly there's no script involved as far as the race goes. That we always have a plan. We know what kind of stories we're following. We know what our storylines are. But as far as how you say it, and other than swearing, you're pretty much open to it. And there's this joke that we say, you can say anything you want to at least once. Doesn't mean you're going to be asked back on the show. But it's all. I mean, that's why you have so many different personalities, just because we're allowed to say things the way we want to and talk about the things that we want to talk about.
Yeah, and sometimes you get like a Kimi Räikkönen type character in Formula One. He's so outspoken and so blunt with how he is. People love that, but sometimes it's off-putting to some other people. I'm
waiting for who that's going to be in Superbikes. I think that there are some situations that are boiling, and we're going to reach a boiling point, and I'm waiting to see who it's going to be. But we need that. People, you're right, people love it. People understand those kinds of emotions. I mean, who hasn't lost their cool, or who hasn't spoken their mind, or said things maybe not the right way, but the way they needed to say it in that moment? And people understand that and follow it and root for it. So I'm waiting. It's coming. I know it. But
I'm thinking about a Bobby Fong, Josh Herrin rivalry.
I wouldn't put that one out of the realm of possibility. There are a couple of them though. There are a couple of pretty good ones.
You never know. There's always heated situations. I mean, like I said, you don't want to make enemies, but sometimes it's good for TV ratings.
It sure is. So if anybody's watching and there's something you want to say, just say it.
Yeah. Send me a comment. Tell me what you want to hear or who you want me to talk about.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, there's a lot of good battles in there. In the Junior Cup, there's so many young kids coming up nowadays. It's hard to even name them all. Is there somebody you've got your eye on that you've been really looking out for that's up and coming, whether in the pro ranks or otherwise?
Let me think. I think I'm really excited for Cameron Peterson getting the shot in Superbike, and I'm looking forward to the season unfolding for him. Also with M4, oh goodness, I'm having brain fart at the moment.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's fine. I mean, there are a lot of guys. Dominic Doyle, who just came back from an injury. I think he has the potential to be something pretty special. Yeah, there's so many of them.
Yeah, Cam Peterson and Dominic Doyle, I think they're both South African, right?
You're right, they are. Yeah.
And they seem to be, it's always interesting, someone from another country coming to your country and doing really well. They definitely stand out.
They do. Sam Lockoff is another one that stands out to me also.
Yeah, and he just moved up from the smaller bikes, right? And he just stepped up to the 600s, and he's on the 44, the Samurai.
Yep, he did. He just made that jump this year, so it's cool.
And I got to stand behind all the M4 guys because I sell M4 performance exhaust. I'm a vendor. It's one of the brands that I carry, and they've been flying off the shelf. Right now, no joke, I have over 20 orders that are pending tracking numbers. So
oh wow,
they're takes about 2 to 3 weeks right now because everything is made to order and comes straight off the assembly line in Texas. So they are a little swamped on orders, and the SVs are on back order right now because the headers just take so long to weld, the collectors. But yeah, they're a great product, and it's great that they advertise because more people can know about them.
That's right. No, that's good.
So got a couple of minutes left here, just trying to fill some time, but it's great talking to you. And I would definitely look you up at Pittsburgh, and I'm just going to be editing some more video here. The next one I'm actually going to be doing a post for Robert Lackey, the Bison crew, the Bison co-founder. The new leather company has come out a couple years ago, and there's so many riders now in his leathers. It's pretty impressive. So
that's cool.
I'm excited to post that one. And I actually just met him at Blackhawk. He was one of the guys right behind a group that I was talking to. I just said, oh yeah, I'm talking to Robert the other day, and he's right behind me. It's like, oh, what are the odds of that? It's a small world.
That's crazy, small world.
So I appreciate you coming on here. And,
no, thank you for having me and for working with my busy schedule. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem at all. Is there any message you want to say to the world?
Just, it's what I tell kids that ask me all the time, I want to have your job, or, just work hard and be nice to people, but be yourself. I think more than anything. You mentioned networking earlier, and it's so important, but you can't network and you can't develop those relationships if you're not authentically yourself, and if you're not a nice person. People don't want to stay in touch, but you can get so many things out of life, I think, if you just do those things.
For sure. It's definitely a good message to leave people with, and like I said, I'll get this edited and posted. It'll probably be a couple of weeks, but I'll be sure to tag you and make sure you share it when that posts.
No problem. I look forward to it.
All right, thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Good luck. Okay, bye.